Hello and welcome to Learning Excel. This is the third video from Chapter 9 and my name is Mike Henry. In this video we are going to look at finding the future value. Finding the future value both from a loan perspective and from a future value perspective. In the last video we figured out the payment rate here, which was going to be $22,700. Unfortunately, the accountants have told us the maximum that we can pay out per quarter is going to be $20,000. So we're going to be short. We're not going to come up with enough money. So what we're going to look at in this scenario is finding out what the future value of the loan would be. We're not going to have the loan totally paid off, obviously, because we're going to be paying short. So what we need to do is do the same thing we did before. We need to build in our parts and components, because if you know all the parts and components except for one, you can always figure out what the loan will be. So in this case we're still borrowing $400,000. The amount of years, the payments per year, all of these things have not changed, so I can just simply highlight these and pull this down just like this. Now here the payment is going to be different. We only can pay out $20,000 in a year. So we need to put in our $20,000 here. So if I put in my $20,000, you can see I've got my $20,000 in here. You're going to see that when I go to figure out my future value for this loan, I'm going to do my equal F and V, and I simply open this up like we did before. Now notice how I situate this. So I'm looking at the line that's most important to me, which is this line right here. And I go through. I need to figure out my rate. My rate is the rate per period, so I use this rate. I need to figure out the number of payments. The number of payments is right here. And then I use my payment. Now this is different. Last time we were figuring out payment. This time I have payment right here. And then the last thing I'm going to put in here is my present value. Put my present value in here of $400,000. Now when I hit good with this, you go, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. I'm borrowing $400,000, I'm paying off $20,000 every quarter, but here it's saying that I'm going to be in the hole $1 million almost, and that doesn't make sense. So you have to step back and take a look at what's going on here. Now we borrowed $400,000, which is what we put in our back pocket. Now here, because we put this as a positive, it actually says I'm borrowing another $20,000 every quarter instead of paying $20,000. So this is one of those times where we don't have the negative in here. Notice how up here this was a negative number. So if I had put this as a negative $20,000, I'm paying $20,000 every quarter, you can see that I'm going to be short about $61,000. And you go, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to pay about $80,000 a year for 5 years, and I borrowed $400,000. So those numbers aren't working. I'm falling short. So that makes sense, and that's how much I'd be short, $61,555. I'd have to go to the bank and say, hey bank, I'm going to end up short paying my loan and I'm going to owe you this much at this point. This might be one of those times you go, can I make a balloon payment? And have a business discussion about that. But most likely the bank is going to say no to this, and we'll move on in a little while to figuring out a different piece of this. So in this scenario we were putting money away for a future investment, and we figured out our future investment we needed to put $70,700 away per month, and our accountants told us you don't have that much money, you only have $55,000. So I've put in all of the other key components that are required. Now we put in that monthly payment that the accountants say we can guarantee do, so we put in that $55,000 here. We need to figure out what our investment goal is going to be. Hopefully you're out there going, well, it's going to be short of what you want, and that makes sense because you're putting less money in. you shouldn't be able to make that same amount of money. So hopefully you're thinking that direction. And you see I bring this rate up, and I again do my rate. This is my rate per month in this case. There's going to be 18 payments, so I use my number of payments. I do my payment like we put in here, and then my present value is the 400,000 that we put in. So we have all our parts and components in there. You can see that we're going to be 1.4 million, almost 1.5 million, and we should have been at 1.8. So we are falling short. We're going to take a look at what other changes we can make as we go. With the future value, we looked at finding the future value of a loan when we weren't going to be able to pay the payments the way we should have been, and we found the future value showing that we were going to be short. And then we looked at what the future value would be for an investment. In our case, we weren't making the payments that we thought we were going to make, and we were going to fall short on our investment. If you were doing a retirement fund, you might be calculating payments out and saying, hey, how long is it going to take me until I retire? So you're just looking to get to a particular future value point.